Arts Weekly, celebrating regional expression, performance, and creativity, is brought to you in part by the Edward D. and Ione Auer Foundation, the Ian and Mimi Rowland Foundation, the family of Dr. Christopher and Kirsten LaSalle, and the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
This is Arts Weekly.
Arts Weekly is produced in cooperation with the College of Visual and Performing Arts at IPFW, offering degrees in fine arts, music, theater, and visual communication and design.
Welcome to Arts Weekly. I'm Melinda Haynes with the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. Later on the show, you'll meet Amy Cox and Matt Landry to hear all about the Lion and Lamb Festival. But first, I'd like to welcome Sarah Payne and John Souder from the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Festival. Welcome to both of you. You know, the ACD Festival is just one of those things that has been here forever. But when I say forever, I'm like, well, how long is forever? When did that start, Sarah?
57 years it's been going on. So actually the club came to the Auburn area 58 years ago. The next year was the first festival, so it has been going on forever.
Well, now how long has the museum been there?
The museum opened in the 70s.
Okay.
So the festival is actually older than the museum. So it's not actually a well-known fact, but a group of people with the ACD Club started to come back to Auburn as a reunion, and they still do to this day.
What is the ACD Club?
The ACD Club are car owners, and that's somebody who owns an Auburn, a Cord, or a Duesenberg can be in the ACD Club. It's actually an open membership, but their members are all over, actually the world, and they bring their cars back to Auburn for this one weekend, so it's a really special reunion for them, and it's a gift to Auburn because the cars are fantastic, and so it's a treat to have so many in Auburn at one time.
Well, so this has just been so successful in bringing all of these people and these wonderful cars to Auburn, so I think that this would have a lot of economic impact on Auburn every year.
Absolutely. It's one of the world's largest car auctions and classic car shows. So there's not just Auburn's Cords and Duesenbergs happening that weekend. There's cars of all kinds. So to meet anybody's car excitement and enthusiasm, there's just a lot of different things to see and do in Auburn that weekend. But it's absolutely a huge economic driver for the region.
So if you see something you like, you can just go buy it at the auction.
Absolutely, you absolutely can. There's two different auctions that happen all weekend long, and so there's lots to see and do if you want to sell a car, buy a car, or just enjoy. There's lots to see.
And 100,000 people come to this festival.
Yes, you know, we have seen those crowds just grow and grow and grow over the years, and you know, we know that all of the hotels are filled in the whole region for the festival, and I think a lot of people who live in the region actually underestimate what that crowd is really like, but it's amazing the people that come from all over the world for the festival.
So they're looking at the cars, but there are a lot of other things that are going on at the festival as well. You know, tell me a little bit about what goes on, you know, besides the cars, all those wonderful cars.
Well, being that this is Arts Weekly, you know, we have great arts, crafts, antique shows. This year we're actually having a new art show that is a juried show, and it's focused on vintage, upcycled, and recycled art, which I think is really appropriate for what we're doing with the classic cars. There's live music that happens both on Friday and Saturday night, as well as we have a beautiful parade that happens on Saturday morning. It's a parade of classics, so it's all Auburn's Cords and Duesenbergs, but the pre-parade has a lot of live music, and our community band performs, and it's just a really fun, family-friendly event.
Well, and it's great to look at those cars. I mean, it's hard to, you know, imagine driving around in them all those years ago. Just such a different look and a different feel.
They're amazing, and they're amazingly beautiful works of art and engineering. It's amazing the technology that they have that is still used today in cars on the road today.
just don't quite have the same style today.
They
though, that
don't, no,
did.
they don't. I would argue that too.
So tell me about some of the performers who will be at the festival this year.
Well, we actually have on Friday night, we had the Junkyard Band, which plays some classic rock type of music. We have Urban Legend playing also Friday night. And then on Saturday, we've got a country band called the Jordan Brooker Band, and also another band earlier in the day called What She Said. So all kinds of musical varieties. And then, like I said, our community band will play. And actually, they do something really cool during the parade. They actually leave the grandstand area and walk through the parade route to give kind of a traveling band feel to all of those spectators that aren't just sitting right there at the grandstand.
Well, are there festival tents set up downtown where the bands perform, or are there different stages?
We have a stage there downtown. It stays right there. If you go to the Courthouse Square, you'll find most of the activities are happening right there at the Courthouse Square, and our stage is right there at the Courthouse Square.
Great. Well, John, you have been working with the ACD Festival for some time as a graphic artist, creating the promotional posters that have been going on. You know, tell me what that involves to create these posters for all these many years.
Well, it started a long time ago. You know, my wife ran Miss Northeast pageants for 30-some years in Auburn, and she had a gal working with her, and her boyfriend owned an agency in Fort Wayne, Dan Reed, and he was trying to help the festival get started at the museum, and he found out who I was because I worked as a graphic artist in Fort Wayne. And he said, we're in trouble, we need help, and would you donate some time? And I said, yeah, I'll do one poster. You know, well, it went from there.
Yeah,
you know.
and that was 1981? Yeah.
1981, first poster.
Well, and how do you go about this process? I mean, the posters have a unique look to them. You know, what's your thought process behind these designs?
You know, that's really difficult because every one of them has their own nuance. Mm-hmm. And some are a lot better than others. Some people like other ones better than them. But usually the car club would pick the car, and they would pick the model, and they may even give me a theme. And then I would go from there. Uh-huh. But naturally, when we first started doing them, they were all silk screened.
Okay.
So up until 1989, that was the last silk screen. But I just produced the art in black and white, just black and white. I didn't even put my name on them. And then the silk screener made film, and with just 4 PMS colors or 3 PMS colors, which is a Pantone matching system.
Right.
And then in 1990, Gordon Burek died, so they wanted to have a portrait. So we went to an offset type of art.
Okay.
And I did an actual acrylic illustration.
Now, do you kind of offer the club or the festival a couple different designs to choose from, or do you say this is it for this year?
No, I do it, and they have to live with it.
Oh, well, that's
and love it.
That really is kind of what it's been,
right.
Except for a couple of times, because before, when I started this, there was no festival board. It was just a curator at the museum, and he kind of ran everything, and it was difficult. You know.
Well, so for this year's poster, how did you decide what it was going to look like?
That was an accident, because the club says, well, we don't care what you do, just Auburn, Year of the Auburn. And by accident, I found out that the gentleman, Rick James at the Foundry, had a restored Auburn in his hangar. So I know the pilot. So one thing leads to another, and I get in there, and here's this beautiful Auburn. It's a 100-point car. But next to it is a 43 Stearman, which this pilot has restored, Phil Allison. And I told him, I said, I'm going to put your plane on the poster because it has a Lycoming engine. And then one thing led to another. I added the old Riki Airport, which has been gone for years, to the poster. Right. So it just kind of all came together.
But it has a true nostalgic feel to it, this year's poster. Yeah. So do you hand draw all these? These are computerized graphics that...
I do an acrylic illustration, and then I give it to a friend of mine here in town called iPix Photography. He shoots me a high-res, picture of it. And then he even puts it in Photoshop and cleans up stuff, because my original is only about 18 by 24.
I see.
And it's going
It's
up to
gonna
24 by
yeah.
36. So some of those things are going to expand.
It's to be high resolution.
Right. And so he gives me a couple of files, high-res files, and we go from there.
And so these aren't silk screened anymore. They're
No, they're
offset printed.
press. And the way they do it today, they don't even have film anymore.
Right.
I give them a PDF on a CD,
Yeah.
and they go right to plate.
Right. Now, how many of these are printed? I mean, are there collector's items of John Souder posters out there?
Yes, some
Yeah.
of them are very expensive.
Yeah.
They still, some of them will bring $400 or $500,
Yeah.
depending on what year, what the collectors want, how many were printed, because they changed from year to year. Sometimes they didn't print very many of
Right.
them. It's like the first 2 years were odd shaped and on shirtboard. You couldn't roll them up, and they were destroyed.
Right.
But those springs will bring $400 or $500 a piece today.
So you've really turned the graphic art into fine art, and for these posters. That's a neat thing to collect.
Yeah, it's been a real ego trip, and especially for my hometown.
Yeah, well,
You know?
they are a wonderful part of the festival to lead off.
Yeah,
The
that's
opening
right.
of it and everything. Now, so you've probably seen some changes then over the years, working with either other volunteers or when there was no festival board.
Yeah, I worked with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
A lot of different people were in charge, and it always wasn't easy. But I made it. I lived through it.
That's wonderful to have that much continuity over the years for the festival. Now, Sarah, you're new as the executive director, but you've known about this festival and done a lot of other festivals over the years. What do you see as something that you're going to, have different this year or really look forward to?
Well, one of the things I thought was the best opportunity for Auburn is just really getting the word out more about what we're doing in Auburn. I think oftentimes I still have people that will say, oh, the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Festival, is that car thing that's happening
Right.
in Auburn? So we really want to educate people that there's more than just cars in Auburn. The cars are a fantastic, huge part of it, but come visit Auburn, enjoy the beautiful cars. They're pieces of art in their own right.
And this is Labor Day weekend, right?
All Labor Day weekend.
Okay, and how
Yes.
can our viewers get some more information?
They can, of course, go to our website, which is acdfestival.org. They can also call our office, which is 260-925-3600.
And the schedule is on your website of everything.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, thank you both so much for being here. It's going to
Thank
be
you
a
for
great
having us.
festival.
Okay.
While we get ready for our next segment, please take a minute to view our performance calendar of what's coming up in our area. You can view us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'll be right back with Amy Cox and Matt Landry from the Lion and Lamb Festival.